Hello and welcome back to our garden. The work of self-cultivation is a quiet and consistent practice, and it is a privilege to be on that path alongside you. This is the Seeds of Synergy podcast, and my name is Patrick Robinson. Together, we'll continue to explore the ecosystem of our world, understanding what is true, so we may cultivate what is possible. In today's exchange, we commence with Foundations, the first part in the Knowing Thyself series. This series will unpack and explore the why, what, and how of discovering who we are. It is a blueprint for finding personal truth through questions that have been asked for millennia. Questions that ultimately only we can answer for ourselves. So let us begin with the ancient insight that sparked this fire of self-discovery. Socrates once said, "To know thyself is true wisdom." And in the modern world, with all the hurriedness and streams of information that we are immersed in, it can be near impossible to make the time to reflect and learn more about ourselves. A busy life makes us feel productive and provides a sense of achievement. But without a balance, it often leaves us stressed, anxious, and burnt out. For these reasons and many more, I firmly believe that learning more about ourselves is one of the most profound things we can do to enhance our health, happiness, and overall quality of life. You might ask what authority I have to speak on this topic. My answer is simple. I have no academic authority. My only credential is the one we all share, a lifetime of being with myself. And it is from that intimate, oftentimes challenging, lifelong companionship that these reflections are drawn. Further, we are the only ones that will be with ourselves for our whole lives. So it is crucial that we learn to accept and love ourselves for who we are. Why this topic and why now? When I prompted ChatGPT with what are the two most frequently asked questions of you by your users, its response startled me. They were, what should I do with my life? Sometimes phrased as, what's my purpose? Or what's the best path for me? And how can I be happier? Then I got to thinking about myself, my friends, and some of my adult role models. Purpose and fulfillment are things that all of us grapple with, notwithstanding age, gender, nationality, or any other social metric that we categorize ourselves into. And so there is clearly a desire to find that deeper meaning. A teacher of mine once said, happiness is not something external to ourselves. True happiness is something we find and unlock from within. This all too simple message can get lost in a world fueled by virality and external validation, likes, swipes, and reposts. When our sense of self attaches to almost everything except our true nature, it is a confusing time to be alive. And in my view, social media and woke culture continue to proliferate the confusion. The modern mantra that you can be and do anything has a paradoxical effect. It can often leave us disillusioned by infinite choice. There are seemingly endless things one can do. I mean, the spectrum of possible vocations at the moment is crazy. It ranges from interplanetary botanists to OnlyFans models. Additionally, if you are struggling with who you are to begin with, how on earth do you know what it is that you want? And herein lies the terrifying caveat. If you do not know what you want, something else will decide for you, be it targeted marketing, societal expectation, or simple circumstance. An external force will fill the dreams you leave unplanned. In my opinion, this is the root cause of the midlife crisis, or in my case, the quarter-life crisis. Getting to a point of self-actualization to know what it is that you do want out of life, and then adjusting your present circumstance or situation to be in alignment with that life. So the precedence is set to figure out who we are so that we can live the happiest and most purpose-filled life possible. The next thing to ask would be how. This is not something we are taught by our parents or in formal educational systems, and it is definitely not something that we should outsource to AI. It is a process that only we can navigate, as we are the only ones who know all that we have experienced, and more importantly, how these experiences have shaped us and continue to make us feel. This reflection is born from stillness. For me, it was only once I left my busy Brisbane bubble and moved to Western Australia for 6 months with none of my friends, family, or hobbies that I had the time to sit and learn more about myself. In that time reflecting, I realized quickly how unsure of myself I really was. I'm not the school I went to, I am not the degree I studied, and I am not this loud voice in my head that won't seem to shut up. This voice being my enormous ego. So who the hell am I? With that in mind, and in the pursuit of my own truth, I read a lot of books on self-help, spirituality, philosophy, and history. I don't know it all, but pulling at the threads of the body of knowledge I did read, I found 5 foundational truths. 1. All human beings experience suffering. Not physical suffering like the pain and devastation happening in Ukraine and Gaza at the moment, and internal suffering that stems from our mind and its desires. Be it relationships, vices, status, or money, our attachment to desires cause us to suffer. Because when we don't have it, we want it, and even when we do have it, we don't want to lose it. This hamster wheel of desire does not grant us peace. It keeps us running at a frantic pace towards things that can never truly fulfill us. This is what I see the matrix or the rat race to be. 2. Our ego. The voice in our head that never seems to have anything nice to say is a survival instinct that is responsible for our attachment. Speaking on ego, Eckhart Tolle said, "It is complete identification with form, physical forms, thought forms, and emotional forms." Put simply, our egos ascribe our sense of self to possessions, titles, thoughts, and emotions. If we don't earn this much, or we don't have this physique, or we don't buy this new iPhone, somehow we are not good enough. What a deep and hollow deception. In saying that, the ego is also the vessel for our beliefs, goals, and dreams, so trying to destroy it is also not the solution. When contemplating our ego, you might ask, if this egoic voice in my head is always talking, who is it that's actually listening? 3. The quality of our thoughts determines the quality of our reality. Our subconscious mind, the entity responsible for all of our subconscious behavior and operation, be it heart pumping, neurons firing, stomach digesting, is an incredibly powerful tool, and it never stops. It is like a camcorder with unlimited storage, and it is always recording what our conscious mind is thinking, saying, and doing. And so when a new situation arises, what we have habitually been thinking, saying, and doing becomes our default response mechanism. For example, until recently, I have always told myself in thought that I need other people's approval to validate myself and the decisions I make. What this has done is 1, prevented me from thinking about what it is that I want and instead prioritize what other people would have me do. And 2, with the foundations of my sense of self built upon the praise of others, I all too easily fall and crumble by their criticism. The manifestation? I was a serial people pleaser. I did not want to offend or do anything that could lead someone to dislike me. Since becoming aware of this destructive thought pattern, I have switched the narrative now to, I am completely content in who I am and what I am about. Another expression I love is, don't take criticism from someone that you wouldn't take advice from. Anyway, foundational truth number 3, watch your thoughts, words, and actions, because everything is observed by your subconscious mind. Always speak and think of yourself in high regard, because everything is an affirmation with yourself, and it all contributes to the quality of reality you experience. 4. From the Buddhists, we learn a pivotal truth. Awareness itself is the key that unlocks the cage of human suffering. Ask yourself, how can you change your involuntary thoughts, ego, emotions, and feelings if you aren't even aware of them in the first place? 5. Time is our most valuable asset, and the present is all any of us really have. We cannot change the past, nor can we predict the future, to even greater degrees of inaccuracy and uncertainty these days. My word. The only time we can do anything to better ourselves, learn, love, and experience is in the here and now. Interestingly, the ego hates the present for this very reason. It is so fixated on its survival and keeping us in that same state we have always been in that it exclusively deals in regrets of the past and fears of the future. Because if we were completely aware and engaged in the present moment, there would be no space for the ego. If we continue to raise our awareness of self and intentionally put ourselves in uncomfortable situations, we outgrow and evolve past the fear-based restrictions our egos impose on us. Okay, so our desires cause our suffering, our ego is responsible in part for our desires, and our thoughts, words, and actions shape our reality. Further, increasing awareness helps us realize our desires, egos, thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and the present is all we have to do anything about it. From that simplification, it seems like a no-brainer then that the how is to use the present moment to bring awareness to our desires, emotions, and thoughts, so we can reshape our reality. So how then do we raise our awareness? Well, there are lots of ways to do this, and what I'm slowly discovering is that every experience is an opportunity to improve our awareness and learn about ourselves. In the following parts of the series, we'll unpack the other methods for raising awareness, but for today, we will focus on the most direct path: conscious breathing and movement. Let me elaborate. Our breath is our personal metronome for life. Its rhythm and pace is a direct indicator of how we are feeling. Shallowed and hurried when we are stressed, fearful, or exerting ourselves. Deep and slow when we are cool, calm, and collected. Our breath is our life force. If we stop breathing, we cease to exist. Our breath brings us back to the present. Thus, when we are focused on our breath, we not only dissociate from our thoughts, but we connect with our body and the present moment. For observing and taming the mind, meditation is the ultimate tool. To be able to sit still and focus the mind on something, be it your breath, an object, or a task, takes a tremendous amount of patience and practice. There are many different styles and types of meditation, but I'll save this for conversations with more authoritative individuals at later stages. For now, if you are interested, just sit with your legs crossed, your eyes open or closed, in a quiet space, and try to count your breaths up to 10, and then start again. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. That's 1. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. That's 2. And just repeat this until you get to 10 and then start again. When you get distracted and lose count, just start from 1 again and build your way back up. Be kind to yourself, because like learning anything new, it takes time, effort, and many failures before you start seeing progress. Being aware of your breath is the gateway to understanding the nature of our mind and its desires. However, our mind and our desires are only one facet of our being. Our true nature is in our mind-body connection. So when it comes to fostering a mind-body connection, engaging in physical practices like sports, yoga, martial arts, or gym help to develop attributes in the body. In so doing, we bring awareness to parts of our body that we may have been able to move before, but not necessarily able to feel. This bodily awareness helps us regulate our own well-being and health. I'll share an anecdote of mine. Recently, I went to Japan to learn about Qigong, an ancient Chinese art that focuses on developing a mind-body connection through intentional movement and breathwork. During the first few days of training, my teacher was stepping me through complex movements that I'd never done before. Suffice to say, parts of my body that I never knew even existed were in a world of hurt. However, as I continue to practice, I'm becoming increasingly aware of parts of my body, and in so doing, I'm developing attributes in the body like flexibility, mobility, and strength. For anyone that is interested in learning more about Qigong, or even just learning some stretches, I'll link my teacher's website and will soon start posting my own personal practice online. For those not interested in Qigong or overexerting activities, the simplest way to nurture a mind-body connection is through stretching. Consciously extending muscles, tendons, and fascia in our body through movement and stretching, we become aware of our body. Feeling what is stiff, restricted, or sore, and carrying on with awareness of that. What we choose to do with that awareness is our own sovereign decision to make, but at least now we are aware of it. I'm cautious not to overload you, so I shall leave it here, and we'll continue to delve into the how of knowing thyself in part 2. To recapitulate what was shared, we all experience suffering, and this comes from our intrinsic desires and attachment to these desires. Our ego is an evolutionary mechanism within us that loves to attach our identity to desires, emotions, and material things. Our thoughts, words, and actions shape our reality and habitual nature. Watch what you think, say, and do, because everything acts in accordance with that. Awareness is the cure for our suffering. The present moment is our most valuable asset, and it's all that any of us really have, so spend it wisely. Our breath is the gateway to a still and present mind. It is an anchor to the here and now. So when in doubt, always come back to your breath. Exercise, stretching, and movement are essential for developing mind-body connection and raising awareness of our physical state. To finish, I'll leave you with a quote by Lao Tzu. At the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are, and you know what you want. Until our next exchange, continue to embody all that you seek, and you will plant seeds of synergy in the soil of every moment. Thank you.